Only real fans can buy Border-Slop 4. True and real. And you know what's the best part about this? There is no solution to the $80, $90 price tag on gaming. We will simply not buy it. 60 and 70 bucks already is honestly too much. You know what people are happy about currently? You know what people are saying, oh, this is a great buy? Things that cost $40 to $50. But AAA will never change their ways, and they will suffer for their stupid choices. Because the only solution for this is the prices going down, because God knows salaries are not going up.
That's it. I'm going to get one of those signs that sits behind me that says 0 days since last industry controversy. I have never seen so many companies so ready, so willing, such in a rush to try to give players more reasons not to buy their games. I sit back and I read some of this stuff and I'm just
I mean, the last 5 years have been pretty impressive. It's like on steroids, but there's no winner.
like, why can't you guys be normal just for like a week? Now we have CEO Randy Pitchford coming forward to say that real fans will be able to find a way to buy their games for $80. Brushing off player concerns about
I'm selling my kidneys already, Randy. I'm a real fan.
price increases, and then also turning it into a fandom purity test. That is a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that pays off for you. Too many times, these publishers and studios are betting on blind consumerism. And time again, they are proven wrong. They do not realize how far their actions and their words travel. Every cash out and every crash out, it's costing them, and it's costing them dearly. So today what I want to do is I want to give a lesson on brand economics. As a fan, Randy, we're going to talk about how your brand influences your financial performance and ultimately your future. Because Borderlands 4 is not the kind of game that I would just assume everybody's going to buy, regardless of how much money they have.
No, Borderlands 4 is something even Borderlands fans are not gonna buy in a lot of cases, even if it, by the way, didn't cost 80 buckaroonies, okay? Because, well, Borderlands 3 was pretty bad. Unanimously acclaimed fact at this point. Tiny Tina's Cringe Adventures was pretty goddamn cringe. And Borderlands 2, well, it at least was still okay, but people, that was already the point where people started saying, oof, yeah, maybe not.
Or how big of a fan they are, or better yet, used to be. With both Nintendo and Xbox increasing their prices up to $80, it's expected that other publishers will fall in line soon. And most players are already wondering which games are going to be the next ones to make the jump. A few developers and executives have already weighed in on the topic, and in a surprising twist, EA CEO Andrew Wilson had already stated that they have no plans to raise their prices at this time, regardless of what the
Wait a minute, that is so insane that the only persons with a brain are EA. But I have talked about this, okay? Whoever is the chief financial officer of EA actually is fucking smart. Because whenever people are making mistakes like this, EA, by the words of their CFO, are constantly making the right decision, which is crazy considering EA is making all the wrong decisions on average.
competition does. That statement alone tells you how volatile this topic has become. Players are becoming more price sensitive by the day, not just because of inflation, but because the price of games already went up less than 5 years ago from 60 to 70 and now to $80. 2 points on a graph is a coincidence, but 3 is a trend. At this rate, people aren't worried about this price hike. They're more worried about the next one.
2 points already make a line, and you can see which way that line is pointing, though.
That's why when a fan replied to Randy Pitchford on Twitter with a friendly warning, it resonated. He said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant price increases. You're the CEO. You have some say when it comes to your publisher.
No, that's actually incorrect. They don't. They don't, because in this case, they're owned by EA. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Borderlands is, as a franchise, owned by EA. So there's not a lot of choice there.
It wasn't hostile. It wasn't aggressive. Just a reasonable concern from someone looking forward to Borderlands 4 and worried about the fact that it might cost too much. And in response, Randy Pitchford delivered what might be the single worst way to answer a paying customer. A, it's not my fault, and B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school, working minimum wage in an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make.
Bro, listen, this is such a stupid tweet, okay? At that time period, when he was just out of high school, working for minimum wage, first of all, he could probably buy a house at that point for that minimum wage, no problems, and he probably had a lot of expendable income on, well, stuff like this, because what else is he going to spend his money on?
Make it happen. Right, because nothing says love for a franchise like quietly accepting predatory pricing and bending over at the cash register. Imagine thinking that fandom is only defined by how much financial discomfort you're willing to endure. This isn't just tone deaf, this is loyalty tax disguised as nostalgia. So let's break this down. A multimillionaire CEO in 2025, during an era of a housing crisis, inflation, and mass layoffs, is telling players that if they really cared, they would just behave like he did in 1991 when a game still had a physical resale value, didn't have season passes, deluxe editions, microtransactions, or day one DLC. This isn't PR, this is financial cosplay. He's not relating to players, he is romanticizing economic struggle just to justify an $80 video game. That game that he bought in 1991, it didn't come with a deluxe edition, 4 expansion passes, and a 6-month roadmap. You bought it, you played it, you were done with it. So that's not so different from what Borderlands 4 is going to be today. And that's exactly why this pricing conversation deserves a little bit more care. So no, Randy, your story about saving up while working at an ice cream parlor doesn't justify $80 digital video games.
It never did. It never will.
It makes you sound like the kind of guy who thinks eating ramen to afford loot boxes builds character.
Wait. I honestly don't think this situation is going to be exclusive for video games or gaming in general. I think this is something that all industries at some point are going to experience. They're going to raise the prices because prices grow faster than salaries, as we all painfully are well aware of this fact. There's gonna be things that just raise their price and people are just gonna stop buying it because it's kind of ridiculous, okay? That's where we're headed.
Pitchford is right about something, though. Fans will find a way, just not the way that he's going to want them to. They'll wait for a sale, or they will skip it entirely. Some of them are just going to pirate it out of spite, and they're going to do that guilt-free because, unlike Randy, they're not going to be assigning moral weight to a price tag. The best part of this is that other studios picked up on this sentiment. Devolver Digital fired.
Honestly, there's gonna be people who pirate it now just out of pure spite who would previously probably buy it, but now they're like, oh, Randy, you just said something stupid that I really dislike and took personally. Now, I'm pirating it. And that's good for you, champ. Good for you. Those are choices that we have the right to make.
Off a surgical strike.
Not endorsing anything, YouTube. Please keep my monetization. Thank you.
On Twitter, saying that you're going to be able to buy MycoPunk for you and 3 of your friends for the price of 1 copy of Borderlands 4. MycoPunk, by the way, is this slick-looking FPS PvE horde shooter that has a demo that's out right now. That game, by the way, you can probably play that with friends for like 100 hours completely free. Pitchford, not wanting to take the L, retweeted Devolver Digital's post with this bizarre response. MycoPunk is cheaper than 1 point of meth, probably has fewer side effects too. What does that even mean? And now this whole thing is just going to be remembered.
Well, Randy Pitchford probably knows 1 or 2 things about meth, though.
It's 2025's don't you guys have phones moment, or maybe EA's it's not gambling, it's surprise mechanics. Another
God, you gotta appreciate the fact that this guy even looks like a goddamn villain, okay? He looks straight out of a Bond villain. He looks like the guy who's gonna scream, "Don't touch me," and then when you turn your back, he's gonna try and do something.
not gambling, it's surprise mechanics. Another one of those tone-deaf executives that are trying to make a point only to remind players will they stop trusting these people in the first place. Funny enough, before this happened, Pitchford actually addressed the pricing concerns at a recent Borderlands event. He had said that he didn't know if Borderlands 4 was going to follow Nintendo or Xbox's pricing, reiterated that it wasn't his call, and then added on that this game's budget is more than double that of Borderlands 3. But he finished by saying that
it makes sense. Again, I think the typical AAA budget for a game at this point is probably very, very rarely below 500 mil. That's insane.
he believes in this game. that it's great and that it will
A budget of 500 milli is pretty much the equivalent of saying that you need to, in the first month, sell at least 5 million copies, and then you have a chance of breaking even.
deliver at any price point. And honestly, it might, but that's not the issue anymore. The sad part is, this didn't have to be a controversy. If Pitchford just said what he had said at the event, or better yet, said nothing at all, the conversation would have moved on. Maybe people would have grumbled about the potential price hike. Maybe they would wait for a sale, but that would have been the end of it. Instead, he gave players another reason not to buy his game, one that has nothing to do with the price tag and everything to do with the person behind it. And that's the real problem. It's not just about the $80 price tag. It's about the arrogance, the entitlement, and the complete lack of understanding about how players actually think. Pitchford turned what could have been a calm, consumer-level concern into a loyalty test. He didn't just defend the price, he turned it into a challenge, a line in the sand, and this behavior isn't rare anymore. It's become a pattern across the entire industry. We've seen this time and time again, developers and executives who either don't understand the weight that their words can carry, or worse, they think that they're untouchable because of their titles. They treat their personal social media accounts like it's a diary, forgetting that everything they say reflects back on the studio, their coworkers, and the game that they are trying to sell. And when those comments backfire, the damage doesn't just hit them alone, it hits everybody around them. Just look at Helldivers 2, that game had an explosive launch, even with matchmaking issues, bugs, and crashes. Players still stuck around because the developers felt like they were connected, passionate, and engaged. But once the first balance patch hit, well, the Reddit posts started rolling in, and then one of their developers openly admitted to antagonizing the fans for their own entertainment. Discord mods started...
I'm sorry, couldn't tell you the story of Helldivers 4 is that the developers are claiming, oh yeah, we just made this game to see how many people we can convert to being Nazis. Not even joking, by the way. That's literally what the most recent, at least that I have heard, and it's like a month old. At this point, it's probably honestly even worse. Yeah, but Arrowhead Studios really fucking... Yeah, Arrowhead. Arrowhead really fucking hates their players, okay? The devs behind Helldivers think of everyone who likes this game as evil scum and bad people.
Banning people using clown emojis on furry art. Then came the now famous "I thought you were refunding the game and leaving" post from one of their community managers during the Sony account linking disaster. It does not matter how good the game was, the trust was gone. It took nearly a year of them replacing staff, rebuilding goodwill, and delivering real updates for them to be able to recover that audience that they once had by default. Or go look at Starfield.
By the way, I knew that the Helldivers thing was... there was something fishy about it. You could smell something was wrong. Because when the PSN account linking happened, you had people at Arrowhead say, oh, come on, guys, just do it. It's not a big deal. And when no one did it, when people started to push back, Arrowhead was just like, oh, Sony, you evil people. How dare you force people to do this? And it's like, wait a minute. Then 5 minutes ago you say it's not a big deal, just come on, you stupid chuds, just link the accounts? And now you're like, so it's Sony's fault? I mean, I'm sorry, but you kind of were down with it until everyone pushed back on it. Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's when Helldivers lost my trust fully.
That game's reception was already shaky, but whatever sympathy Bethesda had left had evaporated by the time that their narrative lead, Emil Pagliarulo, logged on to scold players on Twitter saying that they don't understand how hard it is to make games. Instead of just listening to players about what they actually wanted, freedom, personality, a reason to care, he guilt-tripped them as if...
Yeah, you know what he said? He said, none of you are developers, none of you know how much effort was put into making this game, so none of you have the right to call it bad. That was effectively the take. And that's stupid, and everyone knows it's stupid, okay? I don't have to eat a shit to know that a shit probably is not gonna taste good, okay? I don't need to experience a lot of things to know that I don't probably want that experience. Again, the world is currently split in two sides. One side has pattern recognition, and the other one doesn't. The most primalist of things.
Emotional manipulation could patch out a lack of meaningful content. Guess what? It didn't work. Avowed, Concord, Starfield, Helldivers 2, the list goes on. Different games, different studios, same exact problem. Developers treating players like obstacles, personal politics, and petty grudges overriding professionalism, and every single time the exact same result. Disappointment, backlash, silence, and loss of players. That's what makes this all so frustrating. It's not about just one quote or one tweet or one tone-deaf reply. It's about a pattern. These companies are already asking players to pay more than ever. And when the people that are representing those companies act dismissive, snide, or outright combative, it just gives players a very easy reason to just walk away. The average player doesn't care about who's managing the Discord or balancing the damage numbers, but they do care, and they do notice when somebody from that team acts like the audience is beneath them. When you push players away, don't be surprised when they don't come back. Games are already expensive. Don't make players pay for your ego too. I genuinely think that these companies underestimate how many people use social media, which makes a lot of sense seeing how much they spend on their marketing budgets, but it doesn't take a whole lot to come across a stray quote or a headline. You don't have to be watching.
You know what pisses me off about gaming marketing budgets? Sometimes they are put into the budget of the game, sometimes they aren't. It's so stupid. It's so actually stupid and off-putting.
Videos like this. If you are remotely interested in Borderlands, there's a good chance that you're going to be scrolling Twitter or Reddit or YouTube or whatever it might be, and you're going to see something, and all of a sudden somebody that had passing interest in something is going to pass entirely. It's as easy as that. Once negative sentiment starts, it is impossible to put out. It spreads fast.
Hey, you know what? At least negative sentiment is better than apathy. Look at every game that has received apathy at this point, and I need to trim my nose hair. I can feel it. I got a nose hair trimmer. It goes. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, listen. Nose hair trimmer, automatic lawnmower, and dishwasher. Plus, well, it's not actually a plus. This is the four things This is the four best things that have happened in my life. Okay. And an automatic toothbrush, okay? Those four things are must. They just increase the quality of your life so goddamn much, okay? Go to a store or something because you must get... Not at YouTube, please. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Hardcore fans, people making YouTube videos for Borderlands content, people...
Oh, wait, I didn't finish the point about apathy. I made a better point. The point about apathy is look at the games that are currently so bad, so discarded, so completely unredeemable that no one cares even to talk about them. Diablo 4, World of Warcraft. Well, I'm going to talk about World of Warcraft today because I mean, I played Dragonflight for 2 hours. Okay, it's a shit show. Things that people don't even care to shit about have absolutely no chance of ever becoming relevant. If the situation's so bad, people don't even care to say bad things about it. It's over. It's gone.
That stream it and things like that, they might be able to brush it off, but the wider audience, no. The people that have been burned before, the people that are sitting on the fence, the people are wondering whether or not they're even going to be able to afford it. When something like this hits their feed, it just reinforces all of their most negative and worst assumptions possible. These developers are out of touch. The pricing is unjustified. And now here I am sitting here and seeing the CEO say that if I want to play their game, I need to dig deep to be able to be taken seriously. What really kills me is the complete lack of just living on earth when it comes to some of these executives. They cannot see anything past their own ego. You're sitting here telling me during a housing crisis, all this inflation, all these prices going up, you're trying to tell the common customer that we increased our prices, we increased our staff by 150 members, we increased our budget by more than twice the amount, and we're going to need you guys to be able to make that up for us. You overspent, you overstaffed.
Stupid.
This is your problem, but you want us to make that math work. No. Personally, I don't understand where all...
Now, to be fair, make a good game, and we're gonna buy it. It's actually that simple. It has at the baseline, it has never been anything more than just make good game, people buy it. $80, $100. Yeah, sure. The moment I say this, there's gonna be people in the comments saying I'm not gonna buy it for $100. But if it was a really, really good game, most people would. Most people would break at some point and buy it for $100 even. That's just life. I mean, if something is worth it, you just spend the money on it. That's it. Like, what is the point of money if not spending it on things that you enjoy, things that you want? No one has ever been happy just by hoarding money and doing nothing with it. It just doesn't work.
All this optimism is coming from. Pitchford is acting like Borderlands is untouchable, but the way things have gone lately, you can only be certain that your real fans will be able to show up if you even have them. I am, for all intents and purposes, a diehard Borderlands fan. I want Borderlands 4 to be amazing because if it's good, I'll probably pour hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours into it. As somebody who grew up on Diablo and loves first-person shooters, this series has always felt like it was tailor-made for me. I love the build crafting, the endless loot, the tight gunplay, the class variety, and it's one of the best co-op experiences in all of gaming. When Borderlands is at its best, it plays like a co-op MMO with bite-sized storytelling, and it has some of the most creative combat loops that are out there. Sirens with their space magic, pet and turret classes, other characters serving as weapons platforms, guns that shoot guns, launch bees and scream at you, legendary drops that completely change your playstyle, true Vault Hunter mode, raid bosses, DLC that actually matters. And it's one of the last remaining franchises that hasn't thrown itself headfirst into live service hell. No battle passes, no seasonal resets, no login bonus.
Yeah. With Borderlands 4, there is a good chance that that's happening, by the way. Who knows?
Or overpriced skin bundles, just a complete experience packed with content straight out of the gate with expansions that actually expand on something. In a lot of ways, Borderlands is a reminder of what games used to be before monetization warped the entire genre. But that's the thing. What Borderlands represents and what Borderlands has become are two completely different things. And what I don't think Gearbox has acknowledged, or maybe hasn't realized, is that Borderlands has a reputation for the few, not the many. On paper, this franchise is still giant. 93 million copies sold, a long list of mainline titles and spin-offs, massive brand recognition, but you zoom in and it starts to tell a different story. Borderlands.
I mean, to be fair, this tweet is by Dexterto, and as much as I have seen it, every day more and more Dexterto tweets are proven to be just lies about stuff, which is hilarious.
Recognition, but you zoom in and it starts to tell a different story. Borderlands 2 alone counts for 30 million of those sales, and just because a franchise has legacy doesn't mean that that audience is going to show up again. Look at Dragon Age: The Veilguard. That's a franchise that had critical acclaim, massive fan investment, strong sales, but over the years, BioWare chipped away at the formula, changing the gameplay, shifting the tone, making thematic changes that didn't really sit all that well with players. By the time Veilguard rolled out, that reputation had already worn thin. The trailers didn't land, the tone felt off, and when it released, the audience didn't show up for it. It missed its sales.
To be completely fair, Veilguard just completely failed, not because of people didn't like the company, not because of anything, but the fact that the game looked like trash, it looked fucking woke, and that's pretty much it. Doesn't take a lot for people to dislike something.
Sales targets, it didn't make its money back, and it didn't matter how loved Origins was, it only mattered how good Veilguard looked right now. Borderlands is not immune to that. Legacy can only get you so far when each new entry leaves a worse impression than the last. The pre-sequel was the first sign of this. It reused assets, leaned heavily on recycled systems, and told a side story that nobody asked for. It is still the worst-selling game in the series. Then came Borderlands 3, a mechanical leap forward that modernized the gameplay, selling 22 million copies, but it dropped the ball entirely when it came to writing and tone. I have a love-hate relationship with Borderlands 3. I love playing it, but I hate the fact that I'm playing that game specifically. The gameplay loop is incredible, but every time a character opens their mouth, I want to mute the game. They followed up one of gaming's most iconic villains, Handsome Jack, with two live streaming space influencers narrating your every move. They leaned hard into...
Dude, Handsome Jack was such a great villain. He was likable, he was interesting, and there was actually point in his actions. Everything after that was just cringe.
To this influencers thing, and even harder into the worst kind of millennial irony. Surface level references, smug quips, and jokes less funny than watching The View. And probably the most damning part of the game, they killed off beloved legacy characters and shoved new ones in your face like you were supposed to care, especially Ava, one of the most grating, self-important characters I've ever seen shoehorned into a major franchise. The whole thing had this weird, forced female empowerment thing that was going on, but it was all
What is a game if not the struggle of female empowerment?
corporate branding on top of these characters. It just didn't land. It didn't work. It was bad. And the damage didn't end there. The backlash from Borderlands 3 carried directly into Tiny Tina's Wonderland, a game that should have been a slam dunk. Expanding on the franchise's most beloved DLCs and turning it into a full game should have meant something, but the reception was room temperature, safe, forgettable. By the time it launched in 2022, a lot of the longtime fans had already tapped out. The writing hadn't matured, the humor hadn't evolved, and critically, the endgame was just non-existent. DLC never fixed that issue, and for a series known for replayability, Wonderlands gave players very little reason to come back. So post the peak of Borderlands 2, you've already expended much of this franchise's reputation and have burned out longtime fans, but I don't even think winning back old fans is going to be Borderlands 4's biggest problem. The issue that they're going to be running into is the damage that's been done to the brand, because Borderlands isn't just competing with other games, it's competing with its own reputation. The Borderlands movie bombed catastrophically, pulling in just $18 million on $110 million.
Randy Pitchford also said, please go watch the movie. It's actually really good. Please go watch it. It's such a goddamn loser.
$1 million budget. Miscast, tone deaf, utterly disconnected from what made this series special. And for a lot of people, that's their first exposure that they've had to this franchise in years. Not the games, the flop. Then there's Take-Two's recent update to their end-user license agreement, a move so anti-consumer that it sparked a review bombing campaign across all of their franchises.
Oh yeah, we covered that. People were deleting Borderlands 4. A lot of people were hating this. I don't exactly remember what they did, but it was bad. It was really bad. Longtime fans just said, I'm out. I am out.
Modding, bannable. VPN use, bannable. Exploits in a single-player game, bannable. Class action lawsuits, waived. Data harvesting, front and center. Meanwhile, their competition hasn't just caught up, it's already passed them. Deep Rock Galactic, Remnant 2, Helldivers 2, Risk of Rain 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, Rust,
How much Deep Rock Galactic is doing? I mean, it was good, but again, it's still hard to surpass these AAA known titles like Borderlands. It's really hard. There are better things than a lot of AAA titles, but it's like, they still don't get the acclaim, the recognition, the everything. So Borderlands 4, this is why these big AAA games, even though they're kind of failing, they're kind of dying. Well, we're kind of being generous here, honestly. They still can draw out their dying in like 2 or 3 sequels. Oh, it's pathetic.
Company, the co-op space is stacked right now. Some of these games are cheaper, some of them are free, and most of them feel fresher and more ambitious than what Borderlands has been offering lately. All of this leading up to the real question, who is this game even for anymore? Because the people that grew up with Borderlands 2, they've grown up. They're in their late 20s.
Don't say that. Then they're gonna go for the new modern audience approach.
20s, 30s, or 40s now. They have kids, careers, limited time, and they're not lining up to drop $80 on a franchise they used to love just because it says it's back. They want value, they want trust, and they're not seeing either. And Gen Z players, they didn't grow up on Borderlands 2. They came up through Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, games that speak an entirely different language. Their first
Pretty gay, huh?
impressions likely came from Borderlands 3, Wonderlands, or the dumpster fire of a movie. None of that reflects Borderlands at its peak, and none of it really.
Now we know that that's not true because no one even saw the movie.
Sells the fantasy. And that's what makes this all so risky, because legacy players aren't impressed and new audiences never cared in the first place. Then who's going to be left to rally around this game? 6 years have passed since Borderlands 3. That's long enough for a generation of players to move on and forget or form new habits. And the longer that you're gone without momentum, or in the case of Borderlands, killing your own momentum, the harder it is to claw back relevance. You need every advantage that you can get. You need a pitch that resonates beyond your core audience. But instead,
Well, they're not gonna do it. I think Borderlands is completely dead in the water. Anyway, that was Legendary Drops.